Ladies and gentlemen, so trig review assignment. I marked it and it's up online, so you guys should be checking on Students Connect. Okay? Again, I did not calculate it into your overall grade because it might have been emotionally abusive for some of you. And we're not there yet. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, today what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at triangles that don't have 90 degrees in them. We're going to get away from our basic sine, cosine, tan ratios from right angle trigonometry, and we're going to be moving into the sine law. You're going to use sine law. You can use sine law to solve a right angle triangle. You can also use sine law to solve a non-right angle triangle. Okay? Everybody okay with that? Perfect. Oh yeah, use sine law when you do not have a right angle triangle. That's awesome. I wrote that down. You can use sine law for two things. You can have two angles on one side, and you're trying to find another side. You can use sine law when you have two sides and one angle, and you're trying to find that another angle. There's sometimes where it doesn't work, and that's when cosine law comes into place, but you don't know that yet, so don't worry. None of these questions will be like that. This is the formula for sine law. And again, we talked about labeling a triangle properly. So side A over sine A equals side B over sine B equals side C over sine C. Now, if it's a lowercase letter, what does it represent? A side. And if it's an uppercase letter? An angle. You need to know that. And also, ladies and gentlemen, you only need two out of these three in order to solve. You're not going to use all three of them. You're only going to use two at a time. Okay? So I could use A and B. I could use B and C. I could use A and C if I wanted. Everything's equal to each other, but you're only going to use two at a time. Make sense? Sure. Always seems better when we do an example. Okay, so from the Kelly's house to her friend's cabin is 1.8 kilometers. Okay, Kelly's house to friend's house is 1.8, so I'm going to add that onto my diagram. That's exciting, isn't it? Kelly wants to know the distance from her house to the store on the edge of town. So what side am I looking for? Am I looking for the bottom or am I looking for this side here? So let's hear. Kelly wants to know the distance from her house. So I'm looking from my house to the store here. So this is the one that I don't know, but that's what I'm trying to solve for. Everybody okay with that? Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to label my triangle with, it doesn't matter if you use A, B's, and C's, it doesn't matter to me. You can use K, F, and S if you want, if that makes more sense to you. So, if this is angle, capital F for friend's house, where's side F? At the bottom, right? So this is side lowercase f. If this is angle, if the 66 represents angle K, where's side K? Across from it, right? So lowercase k, it looks like my capital K. And then we've got the S angle. So my 1.8 kilometers would be my S side. It's really important that you know that. You don't have to label it if you know it. I'm just doing it to reiterate it in the examples so you absolutely understand what we're doing. Okay, so we're going to use a little bit of our background knowledge in order to solve this, to sign this. Okay, now remember that, what am I looking for? I'm looking for this x value, right? Or letter f, whatever floats your boat. And what angle corresponds with side f? 88. This is why we label these things. So we know that that has to be included in my sine law. So I'm going to have side Do you want to use X or F? F, okay. Side F over sine of 88. Now I gotta look, what's the other ratio? What's the other ratio that we're gonna use here?
Sine K and 66.
Okay, here's the problem though. If I use side K, I don't know the length of side K, right? So I'm gonna end up with something with two variables in it. And then we can't solve it. So we're gonna use this side, but I don't know this angle. It's easy, okay? So yes, this is where your prior knowledge has to come in. Can we solve for S? Yes. So we've got 180 minus 88 minus 66, and that's angle S. So what is angle S? How much? 26? That's not Pythagorean. Talk about you later for saying that. Okay, so now we know, and I forgot my units of measure on all of these. Somebody really should have pointed that out. So angle S is 26 degrees. So now we know that all that information, and we only have one variable. Do I care about side K and angle K?
No.
No, that's that third ratio, because there's three sides to a triangle. That's that third ratio that we don't need to include, because you're only going to use two. So we've got 1.8 equals sine of 26 degrees. So, now, here's the thing. I would wait until your last step to actually calculate decimals. When you are working inside of an equation, because if you put sine of 26 in your calculator, you're going to get a long decimal, right? The expectation is when you're working inside an equation, you use all decimal place values. You only round in your answer. Everybody okay with that? Okay, so the reason why, let your calculator do the work. Let's do the math without actually going to our calculator till the last step. Crazy, I know. If you have a graphing calculator, you can always go second function answer, or second function answer, and it will take the answer from the previous line and input it into your current thing. Okay, I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to have side F times sine of 26 equals 1.8 times sine of 88. Now, these are actual decimals. They're really long. I'm not going to write them out. It's way easier to do it this way. How do I solve for the letter F? Anybody? Divided by sine 26. Now, in your calculator, especially those of you with graphing calculators, you can do a lot of this in one step. For those of us who want to take it slower, this is okay. I would do sine of 88, figure out what that decimal is, leave all the values on the screen, and then hit times 1.8, hit equals, and then if you're using a graphing calculator, you can do divide by sine of 26, remembering to close your brackets after the 26. Now, also in math, and I know you guys went over this in intro, when you were rounding the answer, we're going to round to 2 decimal places. Okay? So the expectation is you keep all the decimal places inside the equation, and then you round the answer to 2. So what you get? 4.10. So F is equal to 4.10 kilometers. That's fun. I don't know what happened there, but does that make sense to everybody? So you're going to pick the two, one that you have all the information, one ratio where you have all the information, and then the one that has the unknown that you're looking for. I broke this down into two parts. Sine law into two parts. This is kind of like the intro. We practice this stuff. Tomorrow we're going to use sine law to do ambiguous cases, which is a little bit more interesting, shall we say. It's not difficult. Like I said, you just have to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to test your skills, and I want you to draw triangle PQR based on the information given there. Sure, if you want to. Who am I to say no? All I'm looking for with this, if you didn't have P and R on this level, that's fine. What I'm looking for in your triangles is that angle P and the opposite side to that is 24.8. Okay? That's the biggest thing with this. If you are not doing that consistently, then you will find what we're going to do today and tomorrow and cosine law very, very difficult. So just make sure you can label it. It's just one of those little things. Okie dokie smokies, I'm supposed to find angle R. Well, we're supposed to find angle R. I'm guessing I'll do the heavy lifting on this, but hopefully we can do it together. Okay, what am I going to do? Do I know side R? No. I know that I'm going to use angle P and side P because I have all of them, right? So I know that my first ratio is going to be 24.8 over sine of 36. Is equal to, can I solve for angle R? No, because I don't have the side. I then would have two variables. I'd have a small r and a capital R, and I couldn't do that. So what am I going to have to do first? Solve for angle Q. Once I have angle Q, how am I going to solve for R? Subtract from 180. Now you could go back once you have angle Q. You can go back and do another sine law again and you'll get the exact same answer. I don't know why you would do that. I mean, if you're, who am I to judge? Yeah, maybe you want practice. Don't worry, there'll be enough. Sine Q. So again, I'm not going to do any of my sines. I'm going to do my cross multiplying first. So I'm going to have 23.4 times sine of 36 equals 24.8 times sine of Q. So what am I going to do now? Am I going to take sine of 24.8? No, because sine Q is all together, right? So I'm going to divide each side by 24.8. Did you guys get that? Maybe, possibly? Am I going too fast? And the reason, like, you really do need to try this stuff, because if you just copy down my examples, if you're not trying it on your calculator, you really don't have a hot sweet clue if you actually know how to do these steps, especially in your calculator. And I wouldn't want a calculator to hold you up from being successful. Okay, so now how do I solve for an angle? The inverse of sine. So we're going to do the second function button. So sine to the negative 1 times 0.5546 equals capital Q. And let's round to the whole degree.
34.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you honestly, I'll be okay if you skip that line. watching this video later. If you skip that line, I will be okay with it if you go right from here to here. But remember, when you're solving for angles, you're always using the second function button on your calculator. Okay, now we know that that is 34. So what are we going to do? You guys already told me. Because Q isn't my answer. Angle R is what I need. 180 minus 36 minus 34. What am I left with? Units. Jeez. Thank you. I need to be called a one. Sketchy character. 110 degrees. And that's my answer. I noticed some of you, ladies and gentlemen, when you were doing your trig review, you know your stuff, but you're rushing through it and you're not answering the questions. So please make sure that you answer the questions to whatever they're asking. So I've had people leave it here for angle Q, and really I want angle R. Okay? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is sine law. Much shorter lesson.